The Dallas Cowboys 2025 campaign, once billed as a season of redemption and reckoning, has instead spiraled into a volatile cocktail of desperation, dysfunction, and denial, a slow-motion unraveling of a franchise that continues to believe it is just one bold move, one breakout player, one miracle away from finally reclaiming the glory it once took for granted. It's a story written not in bold headlines but in subtle failures, draft picks that never develop, free agents who don't deliver, coaches who refuse to adapt, and a front office that still believes in quick fixes over foundational change. And nowhere is that dysfunction more visible than in the revolving door of the Cowboys' receiver room, a unit that was supposed to be one of the deepest in football and now looks paper-thin the moment CeeDee Lamb steps off the field. The Holden experiment is a perfect microcosm of the Cowboys' talent evaluation problem. There's a reason he went undrafted, a reason he cleared waivers untouched, and a reason no team poached him from the practice squad, because the league as a whole doesn't see the hidden gem Cowboys fans keep convincing themselves is there. In contrast, Fenoy's steady preseason performances year after year have been the kind of consistency coaches should reward, yet he remains an afterthought while less deserving names leapfrog him on the depth chart. With Lamb sidelined, the receiving hierarchy becomes a puzzle with no satisfying solution. Tolbert continues to underwhelm, Turpin is more gadget than go-to, and Fenoy, despite his upside, is still treated like a developmental piece. Pickens for now remains the most reliable option, but even his ceiling is that of a solid complementary piece, not a true WR1. Behind them, Jalen Brooks's value on special teams might make him the first to get a game-day call-up, illustrating how desperate Dallas has become. Special teams contributions are now dictating offensive personnel decisions. And as if the offensive concerns weren't enough, the defense, once the pride and backbone of this team, has crumbled into a cautionary tale about over-reliance on a single superstar. The departure of a $47 million pass rusher didn't just leave a void, it ripped out the gravitational center of the entire unit. Micah Parsons' absence has exposed just how many players were riding his coattails. When offenses had to account for Parsons on every snap, ordinary defenders looked extraordinary. Without him, Kenny Clark is the lone bright spot, and even his solid play can't mask the mediocrity surrounding him. Osa Odigizua, once a promising secondary rusher, now faces double teams he's ill-equipped to beat. Dante Fowler, thrust into a larger role, is proving why he's never been more than a rotational piece. The result? A front seven that no longer terrifies anyone, a pass rush that doesn't dictate terms, and a defense that bends and breaks far too easily. The Green Bay game was the canary in the coal mine. Jordan Love sliced through Dallas's zone coverage with surgical precision, then Aaron Jones delivered the knockout blow on the ground. That game was supposed to be an aberration. It wasn't. It was a preview. As teams exploit Dallas's porous secondary, defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer shifts resources toward shoring up the pass, leaving the run defense vulnerable. And once opponents build a lead, they grind out the clock with ease, as the Bears did during their soul-crushing 10-minute drive. This is what happens when a defense lacks balance, fix one leak, and another bursts open. It's why William Cook's warning resonates. The run defense's early success might just be a mirage, and if the secondary doesn't improve, it won't matter how well the Cowboys stop the run. It's no wonder fans are calling for change, not just in personnel, but in leadership. Al Harris's name is floated as a potential defensive coordinator, but promoting from within risks repeating the same mistakes that got Dallas here in the first place. The Cowboys' habit of hiring familiar faces, from Eberflus to Zimmer, has bred complacency and limited innovation. A real coaching search with fresh ideas and an outside perspective is what this franchise needs. But history tells us not to hold our breath. Meanwhile, the schedule looms like a storm cloud. Nick 47's grim forecast, a possible 4-6 win season, is no longer alarmist, it's plausible. And the worst-case scenario, Dak Prescott going down, would turn a disappointing season into an unmitigated disaster. That looming threat makes every personnel decision, every trade rumor, every depth chart shuffle feel more urgent. And the trade market, as always, tempts the Cowboys with false hope. Trey Hendrickson's name circulates, but the cost, likely a second or third round pick, would further deplete a roster already full of holes. And even if Dallas pulls the trigger, the ripple effects could be catastrophic. Paying Hendrickson and Clark would consume cap space earmarked for Micah Parsons, forcing tough decisions elsewhere. And one-star edge rusher won't fix a roster that still needs a WR2, offensive tackle depth, linebackers, corners, and safeties. The offensive side isn't immune to uncertainty either. Mingo's expected return after Week 4 is a glimmer of hope, but the receiving rotation remains a Rubik's Cube. Brooks' special teams prowess might keep him ahead of Holden, but neither player is a game-changer. Tolbert and Fenoy need to step up, but history suggests they won't. And fan fantasies, like Des Bryant's suggestion to trade for Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts, are exactly that, fantasies. Atlanta isn't selling its future, and neither are the Browns with Myles Garrett, no matter how many first-round picks Jerry Jones waves around. These aren't realistic solutions. They're symptoms of a fan base desperate for a shortcut to success. Even the coaching search speculation speaks volumes about the franchise's desperation. From Anthony Weaver in Miami, whose defense has been suspect, to Corey Heatherman, the fast-rising college coach from Miami, FL, fans are grasping at any name that might bring fresh life to a stagnant system. And while tanking for a top 5 pick has been floated as a reset button, that's a fantasy too. Jerry Jones will never admit the Micah Parsons trade was a mistake, and Zimmer, coaching for his career, isn't about to sabotage his own job security. If Dallas ends up with a top 5 pick, it'll be because they earned it, not because they planned for it. This is the Cowboys' reality in 2025. A team that believed it was a contender but now stares into the abyss of irrelevance. A roster built around one transcendent talent, now exposed without him. A coaching staff clinging to outdated philosophies. A front office that mistakes splash moves for strategic vision. They are a franchise chasing ghosts of the 1990s, of Micah's prime, of a future that always seems one off-season away but never arrives. And unless something changes, truly changes, this will become their new normal, a once great team trapped in a cycle of self-inflicted mediocrity, defined not by what they achieve but by what they fail to do. So here we are, with an offense struggling for identity, a defense collapsing under the weight of its own hype, a fan base oscillating between hope and despair, and a front office staring down a crossroads. Will the